Good evening. Thank you, Madam Moderator, for providing me the opportunity to address this body. My name is Jill Vergara. I have served on Fairfield's Representative Town Meeting for 3 terms as a representative for District 7. I've never missed a meeting in the 5.5 years that I have served. I take the responsibility to represent my constituents and do what is in the town's best interests very seriously. I proudly serve Fairfield, and I proudly represent the Democratic caucus in this response to First Selectwoman Kupchik's town address. First, our hearts go out to all of those who are suffering during this terrible pandemic, to those who have lost loved ones, those who are sick or have lasting side effects from being sick, those who have lost their jobs or are suffering in any other way. We must also applaud and voice our deep appreciation for all of our hardworking and committed frontline workers, like our police and fire personnel, and our nurses, doctors, postal workers, and grocery store workers, who have served Fairfield throughout the pandemic and have helped all of us while putting their health and their families' health at risk. The pandemic has taught us some difficult lessons about health and safety and economic security, but it has also taught us some beautiful lessons about resilience, dedication to one's community, and self-sacrifice. Thank you to so many of those people in town who kept our town going and served selflessly. I want to thank Chris Liddy for his years of service to our town. I speak on behalf of the entire Democratic caucus when I extend my heartfelt thanks for the dedication and passion Chief Liddy gave to our town. I also speak on behalf of the entire caucus in congratulating Chief Calamares on his new role as our Chief of Police, a well-deserved promotion. Chief Calamares brings years of training, skill, and depth to this role, and has already demonstrated a deep commitment to the complex issue of racial equity and justice. We look forward to supporting the chief and the entire force. I would also be remiss in not acknowledging our teachers and school administrators. You are all rock stars. You have been invaluable throughout the pandemic to our children and all of our families, and I thank you for your perseverance and your deep commitment to our town. In this hour, marked anew with the inauguration of our 46th president, President Joseph R. Biden, and with the changing composition of our body, I have great hope and deep resolve to work with my Republican colleagues to do good work for the town and address challenges and problems together. I became a better representative by listening to and working with my Republican colleagues on the RTM and Board of Finance during the budget season last year. Our work together on the budget was the essence of bipartisan debate and compromise, and demonstrated how our RTM works together to function as an important check and balance in our system of town government. There is beauty in compromise, and I will continue to seek it over these next 9 months. As I noted last year in my response, while civility and cooperation are essential to getting things done, opposition and criticism are equally vital to achieving success. I can at once deeply respect my RTM colleagues, my First Selectwoman, and members of other town bodies, while at the same time disagree about policy decisions. Our ability to effectively voice that disagreement is essential for good government. Asking questions and voicing concerns is not partisan. Each time any RTM member asks a question and interrogates data and underlying assumptions, that representative is not being partisan. Debating and asking hard questions is the duty of RTM members as representatives for the people. It is through that debate that we get to the right decisions and with all ideas and concerns on the table. In a very material sense, the RTM's questions can literally save the town money. Our questions about the Voluntary Early Retirement Incentive Plan, or VERIP, saved the taxpayers $100,000 per employee. Democrats pushed back on the cost of this plan as originally proposed. It was simply too expensive. We were told that the original offer was the best the town could do, would likely cost $9.6 million, but could cost as much as $19.3 million, that no greater transparency around the number of employees likely to accept the offer was possible, and that no commitment to headcount reductions could be made. We pushed back against the unacceptably high cost of $357,000 per participant. The uncertainty around the ultimate cost and the lack of commitments to reduce headcounts, and we were being fiscally responsible stewards in doing so. Because of Democrat-led opposition, the First Selectwoman withdrew the original VERIP proposal and then renegotiated the offer with the unions. The cost of the plan dropped by nearly $100,000 per participant. Because of Democrat-led opposition, the first Selectwoman also committed to a headcount reduction of at least 3 employees. By pushing back on the original plan and asking important questions, we saved the town millions of dollars and made the process and analysis much more transparent. These are all great accomplishments and show why having checks and balances is so important. These questions and our pushback were not partisan, but we were being fiscally responsible stewards. We have continued to voice concerns over the large and growing unfunded pension and health care liabilities relating to retired employees, and this was our greatest concern about funding the VERP through these accounts. Historically, Fairfield has been proud to be one of the most fiscally responsible towns in Connecticut with well-funded long-term liabilities, and this has been reflected in our AAA bond rating. As of July 2019, our unfunded town and police pensions and health care liabilities stood at over $170 million, and this has since grown larger. We are concerned that our funding ratios have fallen from over 100% to under 80%. We will continue to press the first Selectwoman to fully fund these liabilities, not just pension, but also health care, because we do not want to be faced with untenable funding shortfalls and required tax increases down the road that would harm property values and our quality of life. We support and will be partners on many fronts with the first Selectwoman, including, but not limited to, investing in our neglected town buildings and other town assets, improving the fresh air, ventilation, and air conditioning in all of our buildings, improving the safety of our streets and crosswalks, continuing efforts to keep our residents safe during the pandemic and providing support for our businesses, continuing the effort to modernize Town Hall and create efficiencies without increasing staff. Let's focus on these common goals going forward. We look forward to seeing an asset management plan for all of our town assets and working with the administration in prioritizing and funding investment in these important resources. This asset management plan was something discussed in the first Selectwoman's address last year, and we are eager to get to work on it. If the risk of mold hadn't opened our eyes to the dangers of having poorly ventilated buildings, then COVID most certainly has. As we stated last year, providing mechanical means of fresh air and air conditioning in all of our schools is one of our top priorities and has been for years. Now is the time. We must ensure that our children and teachers are in safe environments. It is unacceptable that 4 out of our 11 elementary schools are not fully air conditioned. 1 out of our 3 middle schools is not fully air conditioned, and neither of our high schools are fully air conditioned. We must get to work on this now. We extend this concern to town buildings in general lacking air conditioning and proper ventilation. We must maintain our historic buildings properly and protect our employees from mold exposure and other contaminants. We look forward to working with our Republican colleagues on the RTM on various issues affecting all of our districts. One such issue that has been discussed by several on the RTM is making safety improvements to our streets, crosswalks, and sidewalks to address the increase in pedestrian accidents and fatalities. We are a wonderful walking town, and we receive accolades for our pedestrian and bicyclist-friendly policies. It is an important quality of life and business development issue, and the more people can safely access business districts by walking, the more commerce businesses can generate. Another area where we have seen bipartisan agreement and support is fixing the broken policies and procedures that contributed to the Philpile corruption scandal. In October 2019, this body voiced bipartisan support for auditing and revising all of these procedures. As part of this effort, an audit of the DPW was completed in May 2020, resulting in 75 recommendations to improve town operations and strengthen controls. It is now January 2021, and I worry that not enough corrective measures have occurred. Based on the last status report that was provided to the town bodies in January, only 17 of the 75 recommendations were resolved. And while some of the most critical recommendations are still in process, there is no timeline for completion of the majority. Correcting these flawed policies and procedures needs to be one of the administration's highest priorities so that the mistakes of the past do not get repeated. The only way to do so is to put the proper protocols in place. These are all the things that we can work together on achieving for town, and we look forward to doing so. While we feel it is important to be forward-looking at this time and focus on the work that we can do going forward, we do feel compelled to take a moment to condemn the violent insurrection that occurred in our capital on January 6th, as well as those who incited, condoned, or supported that attack on our democracy in any way. We call on this body and all other town bodies to unite against this insurrection and the reckless promotion of misinformation that gave rise to it. I thank God that I live in such a wonderful town with so many blessings. I know we will make it through this challenging time stronger together. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you.
Apologies for the confusion, folks. I'm glad we got to hear it. That was wonderful, Jill.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jill.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Great job.
Bye.
Great job, Jill.